Well, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Chris here. This is gonna be a little bit of a different video than what I normally do. Um, it's gonna be a story time one. I've never really told this story before, and it's not to a lot of people publicly. If you were on my old Facebook, you may have seen something my wife posted at the time it happened and stuff like that. But I don't talk about that much. I don't really make a big deal out of it because I'd like to think that anybody would have done what I, my wife, and the guy that was with us did to help people at a time where they really needed it. So, just for background, this is before we got married. My wife and I got married. We had pretty much just had been dating for just about a year at that time. I was staying over at her apartment at the time because uh like she was off the next day. I got called into work or something happened, and so I was supposed to be off, but I got called in because somebody called out sick, so I had to go in an emergency situation. So she was going to take me in to work since I don't drive. She was going to drive me in, and on the way into work, um, we saw like a bunch of smoke coming from nearby. So she's like, "Hey, there might be a fire. Let's see what's going on." And initially, I was like, "You want a fire?" Like, all right. And we pull up, and this cab pulls up, and there's a house completely like on fire. So I tell my wife to, there's this woman standing outside with a guy, and I tell my wife, call 911, let them know there's a fire. And there was like no one on the street. It was weird. It was me, this cab driver, and and my wife, and this woman standing outside the house next door. And so I go to the house that's on fire and start banging on the door, like, "Hey, there's a fire, there's a fire." Um, the house is completely gone up. So I'm like, I don't think anybody's in there. I don't know about that. And so I went to the lady next door. I'm like, "Is that house abandoned?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I need help." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "I can't get anybody in my house out by myself." And so the cab driver comes up, and we're looking at each other, and we look at the guy standing next to her, and we notice he's disabled. And so I tell my wife, are you on the phone with 911? She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Let them know that the house next door is gone, but there could be like a fire in the house next door." And me and the cab driver go running in and trying to get people out of the house. There's smoke everywhere and stuff like that. And we're just like, grabbing people and kind of leading them out the door, just getting them outside, getting them outside. There was a house of probably like 5 people, including the woman outside. So we got these people out, and it was like, all right, cool, we got everybody out of here. Fire people come and all that, and the lady's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I don't know what we would have done." And we're just like, "What's going on with this place?" She's like, "It's a special needs house." And we're like, "It's a special needs house?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my God. These people they may have died had my wife not drove over." So, you know, I'm all on her Facebook. I think it's still there, but you can see a video of it and stuff like that. Had she not wanted to drive over to see what was going on, like this whole house might have died. or at least a couple of people in the house might have died. There's no telling what would have happened. Um, it's like, and she's like, "Oh, you guys are heroes." I'm like, "No, anybody would have done what we did." I still stand by that. I think that anybody in our situation that my wife and that cab driver and myself were in, anybody would have done the same thing. I have to believe that. It's because if not, then there isn't good in the world, and I refuse to live in a world where there's no good. You know, there are good people in this world, and there is good in the world. And as bad as things may be, as dark as it may be, there's always that one person who will bring some light. In their case, it happened to be three random people who just came by. The house next door, we have no idea whether anybody was in there or not because it was just engulfed. The inside was just engulfed. There was no telling. There was no. I don't know about that other house. Like I said, I don't know what happened there. But I do know that the people that we did help were okay. Which is the most important thing. That they were all right, and that their house didn't catch on fire or anything like that. So, I tell this story because, as an MMA fan, the news broke the other day about UFC legend Mark Coleman and what he did. And, his house caught on fire and he went in and he got his parents out. And he went in for his dog and he couldn't get the dog out and it's heartbreaking, it's terrible. And he was laid up with severe smoke inhalation and he just came out of it yesterday and he was so happy that he was able to get his parents out. But he was also so sad he couldn't get the dog out. And I was like, you know what? It inspired me to tell this story. And, some people I knew at the time made a big deal out of it. Like I said, I don't see myself as a hero. I don't think what I did was necessarily heroic or brave. I feel like I did what I should have done, and let's help somebody that needed it. When there's a fire, if someone needs help, you do what you can to help. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't even know if I thought about like what would have happened to me if something had gone wrong. I don't know if I thought about that. I just knew like having worked as a bouncer, like these people need help. It's time to I got to do something. But like I said, if my wife hadn't stopped or went over to see what was going on, she had said, "Hey, let's find out what's going on over there," we wouldn't have gone over, and Lord knows what would have happened to those people. Um, I'm grateful we were there, and I'm grateful that those people were okay. And there are times, and I've there are times where me doing the right thing has kind of burned me, quote unquote. Uh, there was a time, I'll tell one more here while I'm here. My godson's mom, who is one of like my closest friends. Um, that kid's like a son to me. At one time, his mom was really sick, right? We were hanging out, getting to know each other and stuff like that. We weren't in a relationship or anything, but we were talking, you know. realized we were better off as friends and stuff like that. And she was meant to be with her husband now and stuff like that. So that all worked out exactly how it was supposed to. So a little bit after we were hanging out and stuff, and we were hanging out a lot, going out, just hanging out, getting to know each other. I was working a graveyard shift job, right? So I was working nights, like overnight. The weekend I was working like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday, Friday were 8 hour shifts. The Saturday and Sunday were 12 hours. The 12 hours were fucking brutal because I would go in like 7 at night and then come out. I would get off like 7 in the morning or 7:30 in the morning or whatever the fuck time it was. And anyway, so what happened there is one Sunday morning I was coming home. I was getting ready to go to bed, and she calls me and she's really sick. And she wasn't originally from this area. She was from like Idaho originally. She came out here. I can't remember why, but she'd come out here and didn't know anything, didn't know the area very well. But I had lived in Baltimore my whole life, so she's like, I think I need to go to the hospital. Do you know a good one? And I was like, yeah, I know a good one. They saved my life when I was born. And that was, ironically, the hospital I work at now. So took her to the ER there, and she's like, all right, you don't have to stay with me. I'm like, I'm not going to leave you in a freaking hospital by yourself. I'm staying. She's like, no, you have to work tonight. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not leaving you at the hospital by yourself. I'll get some sleep when I get home. When we get done here. We were at the hospital from like 10 o'clock till 4. So of course, with what had happened, I couldn't sleep. So I stayed up with the hospital with her like all day, you know, because again, I did what I felt was the right thing to do. I'm not going to take someone to a hospital, then just leave them there. That's bullshit. She's my friend. I'm going to stay with her. So I stayed with her. And so, like, I go into work, right? And I'm like, I'll be fine. I'll just leave when when I get tired, I'll just leave and just make it up during the week. I don't care. So I wound up not doing that. I just stayed and kept working through it until my body gave up and I fell asleep on the job. Literally, like, passed out in like a locker room. I was so tired. One of my coworkers called my boss. Needless to say, I got fired after like a week suspension, but that's neither here nor there. The point of it is, or the moral of the story is, even if you do the right, sometimes doing the right thing can hurt. But don't ever regret doing the right thing. I've never regretted what I did at all. Had I not done what I did that day, my friend would have died. Probably died. And my godson would have never been born. My godchildren would never have been born. You know? I wouldn't have like a second family where I'm considered like a son to her mom. You know, literally, I call her mom. She's like another mother. Like, I'm a part of her family. Like, she asked me to be her son, my the godfather to her first kid. I was like, me? She's like, yeah, you're the best person for the job. And I was like, okay. And then when, like, they the other kids asked me if I would be their goddad because they were old enough to ask me. And without even a second thought, I said yes. My wife is their godmother. Um, and of all the people that were supposed to be there, a part of my oldest godson's life, like that were there at the beginning, I'm the only one that's still there because everyone else bailed on some bullshit, you know. I take like my godson, I value that relationship with him. He's like a son to me, and I say that all the time because he is. And the reason for that is he's like a he didn't before his dad came into the picture. I was like that guy for him, you know. I was like that person in his life. And when his dad came into the picture, I had to step back and let him build that bond with them. And it's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. When a kid calls you dad, it changes you. You know, it made me want to be a better person. But I had to let him and his dad be that guy for him. So I had to step back for a bit, and it was hard. It broke my heart, you know. It really did, and it hurt. Like his mom was pissed at me for a long time until her stepdad said to her, like, like he called Chris dad. And he had to walk away from that so that your husband could be a father or take over that role for his godson. As mad as you are at him for like not being around or kind of stepping back, imagine how hard it was for him to do that. And like I said, she was pissed at me until he told her that, and then she called me up and she's like, "Why didn't you just say something?" And I was like, I had to do what was right for him and your husband. I had to do the right thing for them both. I swore on God that I would always do the right thing, do right by that kid, and I will never break that word. I will never go back on that. I will always be there for him if he needs me. But the relationship I have with him, he has to have with his dad. I'll always have your back and I'll always have his back. As far as his dad goes, when it comes to raising him, if you need me to help with him, I'm there. But I had to do what was right for those two, no matter what it did to me. Or no matter how hard it was for me, no matter how much it hurt me, I had to step back to do right by him. I don't need you to do anything but understand that. You can be mad at me, but like I said, I swore I would always do right by him no matter what. And I did. And, you know, his dad understood, and we've had have a great relationship with each other. And he's like, we are good with each other. I love their family loves me. I love them all. Her stepdad was, again, he was like another father to me before he passed. So it was hard. That was another hard one. But it just, like I said, the moral of the story here is, or these stories is, doing the right thing is important in life. Sometimes doing the right thing can get you in a bad situation. Sometimes doing the right thing can hurt like hell. Sometimes it can lead you to do something that shows you have something in you didn't think you had. But when that time comes, do the right thing. This got real serious real fucking quick, I tell you. But it was important. This isn't important. It's a life lesson. I know the last story was about me seeing some wrestling shit, but this one I had to go a little bit serious with it because I just had to. And before I end this, thoughts and well wishes to Mark Coleman. Get well soon, Hammer. We love you. Those of us who grew up watching you in the UFC and all that stuff, you were a legend. And what you did getting your parents out of that house, that's some all time man level shit. Like straight up. That's like you did what a lot of people talk about that life. You are about that life. And that you showed it when it counted. And I hope your parents are okay and get well as soon as you can. Hope to see you on your feet real soon. That's all I've got for this one. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Peace.